Alright everyone, we are back with the last introduction video, and today I'm going to be quickly covering looking around in your operating system for files that maybe shouldn't belong there. So oftentimes if you're working on a computer that's owned by a business, then they'll have certain policies in place that don't allow their employees to have certain types of files, whether that be movies, so media, music, things of that sort, or certain types of tools. So maybe tools that are used for accessing other computers remotely, or tools that are used for hacking, most obviously. So we're going to quickly cover how to go over some of these things and what the methods people use to hide them, and how we can sort of find them with a little bit more ease. So the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to hit our start button, and we're going to type in folder, and that'll bring us to our folder options there at the top. But of course, as always, there's more than one way to get to your folder options. You can always just come to your control panel and select it through there. But now that we have our folder options window open here, we're on this default menu. I never really touch general, but what I do like to look at is the view. Now, this is one that I always turn on right here, hidden files and folders, and I'm going to select show hidden files, folders, and drives. And the next one I'm going to look at is hide extensions for known file types. Usually this is checked. We're going to uncheck that, and we're just going to scroll through this list. You could sometimes choose to say, okay, I want to uncheck hide protected operating system files if you absolutely know what you're doing, and if you suspect that something is attached to an operating system file or anything like that. We'll say no for now because it does give you that pop-up. And that should be good for this window. And then we're also going to go to the search window, and we're going to include system directories on older versions of Windows. This isn't always checked, so make sure it is checked. That way when you're doing your searches, if something's hidden in a system directory that shouldn't be there, then you will be able to find it. And if you wanted to, and if you suspected something was in a zip file, then you could also include compressed zip files. So I'm going to include that for now. And then I'll hit apply to keep our changes. Come back here, once again, let's show hidden files and folders, and uncheck hide extensions for known file types. And we'll hit OK, close out that menu. So now, if you suspected that somebody was using this machine and they were downloading something or saving certain files that they shouldn't be, then you'd try and look at what internet browser they're using. So if there's Google Chrome or Firefox on this computer, we might be able to find, Google Chrome, or we might be able to search Firefox and find that. But the only browser on here is Internet Explorer. So if you open up Internet Explorer, and this is similar for most browsers, you can usually check the tools, and you can view downloads. So as you see here, the shortcut is Control J, so I'll hit OK, Control J. That opens up our downloads window. So somebody on this computer has downloaded putty.exe. So the location is downloads, and if we wanted to, we could run. So if we hover over downloads here, we see that it's in C, users, user, downloads, putty.exe. So right there, we could hit open folder. But as you can see, it says this program might have been moved or deleted. So somebody saved it to that folder, but it's not there anymore. And what we're looking for is Putty. And it's an executable file. And for those who don't know, Putty is used for remote access. It can do connections over serial, or it can do SSH connections. That doesn't really matter for now. The point is, this shouldn't be on our PC. So we'll close out that window, and if they were using Firefox or Chrome, you could also check the settings in there. And the other thing you can do is, for instance, in Internet Explorer, if you hit this favorites bar, it'll usually start you on your favorites, but you can also go to the history and see what has been searched on here in the last day. And in the last day, Putty was, or the web page for Putty was visited. So that way you'd know for sure that somebody has been on there, unless they chose to clear that history and remove their downloads. But they haven't. So now it's going to be up to us to try and look for where Putty's been located, or rather where it's been stored. So we're going to open up our file here. That didn't work. My computer. Okay. So now there's a lot of different ways we could do this, and the first way I'm going to show is going under this users thing right here, this users file. But one thing I do want to point out is this program data folder. You might have never seen this before, and you might notice that's a little grayed out. It's a little less visible as compared to the other folders, and that's because this file is hidden. But now that we have hidden files turned on, we can see that this is here. But we're just going to look in users, and we're going to look in user. So this is our this is our user profile right here. We have our contacts, our desktop, our downloads, favorites, all that stuff. And as you remember earlier, it should have been in this downloads folder, but it's not. The only thing we have here is our Malwarebytes anti-malware setup from a few videos ago. So now we don't really necessarily know where to look, but what we can always do is use our search feature up here, which in Windows 7 is very powerful. So one of the easy things we could do is search for, if you do star.exe, then it searches for all of the executable files in your system. But I don't want to scroll through all that to find Putty, so I can always just do putty.exe and see what comes up. It's taking a minute to load there. And now the search is going to take its time. So while it's sort of sitting there taking its time, I'm going to go to my computer again and quickly discuss what you should always be doing. Because if you have a computer that's used by 12 users, they could be storing files in any one of these folder under any profile, because every profile for each specific user is going to have all of these folders, and they could be saving any file in any of those folders, and that'd be the most likely place to find those sort of things. So if we come back here, the only ones we have are the user and the public. Default doesn't matter. It's not actually a user. So I'm going to look under public, and what we can always do is go public documents and then hit backspace down, enter, backspace down, enter, enter. We see some music. So if there was supposed to be no media files on this computer, then we'd find the media files and we'd say, okay, I'm going to do shift delete, and that permanently deletes them. It doesn't send it to the recycling bin. So I do backspace, backspace, enter, public pictures. Once again, I see some pictures that maybe shouldn't be there. I do shift delete, permanently delete them. Public recorded TV, enter, sample media, and there it is. We have our putty, and we also have this landscapes video. But this putty.exe, as you can see here, it's also a little grayed out. So because it's grayed out, that means that file was hidden. And as you can see here, once again, this search did pick up our putty.exe. So there's a couple different ways to find it. This way was a little slow doing the search, but sometimes it is necessary, because if there was dozens of users on this computer, then that would have been a lot faster than just quickly going through the 2 user accounts that we had. So now that we found it, I'm going to delete both of these files. So shift delete, enter, and that's permanently gone from our computer. Our recycle bin's empty, it's not there anymore. So we found that, and you could, just select these and do delete, but it's not there anymore because we've already deleted them. So you can close your search and you're done with that. But there's one more thing I quickly kind of want to go over, and that's the fact that these files aren't just always going to be stored in your user's file, so that's why you really have to learn to use this up here, this search feature. And as you can see here, you can add a search. You can add the search filter, so you can say date modified, and you can say, okay, I'm looking for something that was added last week, and it brings up everything that was added last week. So you can just do things like that, or you can also do, if you were looking for certain types of media, then you could use the kind feature, which if you do kind and then colon, then it's all these different files here. So you can do kind music, and it's searching and searching, and we're not going to wait for it to find anything right now because it's not that big of a deal. I'm just sort of quickly showing you. But these are the simple ways to look for things within your system. But another thing I also want to point out is uh, being very thorough with looking through your user accounts. So for right now, I'm logged in with the user account, user McBean, so that's this right here. And I could go through all of these, but some people might skip over them. For example, one they might skip over right now is I can see my desktop and I have the recycle bin and I have Malwarebytes. So people might say, okay, skip over the desktop, but if you look inside the desktop, there happens to be a virus.exe, and it's not even a hidden file, so where could it be? Well, if you take a closer look at the desktop, you see that there's a calendar, and if you move that calendar, there's a virus.exe. So sure, your search for your star.exe might have picked that up, but you have to double check everything, or even triple check, which is why we always look through absolutely every file and folder, so that when we find things like this, we can shift, delete, and get rid of it. So I'm going to close out this calendar so we don't hide anything behind there anymore, and that's going to be it for the introduction series. Next time I'll be back with the intermediate level stuff, and we will be talking about Server 2008 R2. So if you're waiting for that video, then I recommend you install a Server 2008 R2 image and get ready for that series.